U.S. stocks are higher this Thursday, but the Russell is taking a bit off the table. Matt, why are we seeing the change here?
Hey, it's a good question. It honestly is. We've been so headline driven over the last couple days. We saw today's action even. We saw an unchanged opening. We saw a spike up about 150 in the Dow. We saw it retrace back, and now we're up about 70 as we speak, and a lot of it is based on what we're hearing out of the White House and the China talks. So we're getting contrary reports about whether we would take a less deal or a watered down deal, as opposed to what we've been led all along, that we're going to get a good deal. So the market is fluctuating due to that. So you're seeing these certain sectors that have really been moving, mainly some of the industrial names that would benefit the most from a deal getting done.
What do you think about the retail names recently ahead of retail sales?
We're past back to school, so we're going to get those numbers. And then we're going to start talking about, was there a weather impact? And was it really hot? Was it rainy? Retail is going to be very interesting. We've seen some of the names, Lowe's outperformed. That's still a major retail on the retail side of it. Some of the clothing stores that we're used to seeing, these brick and mortars, maybe not so good. We're going to find out more about maybe where Alibaba's going as far as retail side. We have a new chairman in there. That's going to be a big focus. So there's a lot of stuff that's probably a little bit more forward out. So I don't know how much we're going to look at August sales, as we are going to be looking about maybe the holiday sales and what the retail customer may be talking about then.
Yeah, and like you said, Jack Ma has stepped down from Alibaba. How about department stores? Those sales are down, but you know what's up? Secondhand stores. So I'm thinking about The Real. I'm also thinking about Poshmark, that's supposed to debut an IPO in 2020.
Well, Poshmark, can you imagine if an IPO actually made money, what it would do? That's what we're seeing. But it makes sense at this time. We've been living in this disposable good world for so long, where you would buy something and just get rid of it. Now we're seeing it being, the hand-me-down, which is what's happened with families all along, right? I have 3 daughters. Hand-me-downs are a common thing. So it's not surprising to see that pick up the pace a little bit based on costs, and that's definitely hurting a department store. When you have access to all these different sites, as you mentioned before, these secondhand sites, to get a maybe once used shirt for $10 so you can use it once for something specific, it makes sense in this market because it's so easily done online.
I also think about how it's just, like you said, it's easier to do. As a matter of fact, I bought this pencil skirt on Poshmark from Hugo Boss, so here you go.
Nice. Nicely done. It looks great.
Cha-ching. Well, let's talk about more stocks. Hedge funds have taken the lowest exposure to equities, the least exposure to equities since 2008. Matt Cheslock, how do you digest that one?
Well, maybe they're missing the boat. We're here at all-time highs. They're doing it for a reason. I think they're protecting. As we get toward the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised to see that exposure be even less, as maybe they're trying to cut their exposure to the market, maybe that has been kind of neutral all year long. They don't want to be surprised at the end of the year when they have to face their investor and say, hey, listen, we made 3% this year. That's not bad for this year. And then you get further clarity. Maybe we have this China deal get done in some capacity. We have some idea. We already have what the Fed is going to be doing, what the ECB is doing. So we're starting to get a little more clarity here. Might find out who's going to be running for office on the Democrat side for president. And all of that will shape how you perform in 2020. So you take 2019's performance and you say, you know what, I'm up 3 or 5% along with the market, I might shut it down. So I'm not surprised to see the exposure cut.
One more question. We have not just retail sales tomorrow. We already went over that. Also Baker Hughes. I've been watching the rig counts. Stockpiles are trending lower. Do you predict any movement in oil in any direction?
You're starting to hear about if Trump lessens the sanctions on Iran, there could be a flood of oil on the market. And if that were to occur, the U.S. has already passed Saudi Arabia as far as production goes. We've flooded the market on the U.S. side, keeping oil at some kind of stable price. But if we get even more of this oil that's been, hiding around the world from Iran, and that now comes onto market, you could see the oil sell off a little bit. And that's why we've seen oil come in about $3 over the last 2 days.
Yeah, not just production. They also sometimes jump Saudi Arabia with exports too.
Sure, absolutely. And, we've seen some of the other numbers and the distillate side, the diesel side, all of that stuff has kind of been bearish for oil. And that's why you're seeing it maybe retrace this week.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That's Matt Cheslock from Virtu Financial. Have a good weekend.
You too, Vaz.